What's up, everyone? This is the Morning Hookah Show. It's a little bit different. You might have realized that this is not exactly live. Well, that's because I'm in the middle of traveling on a work trip, and I'm unable to be here live like I normally am. I apologize. I miss you already. I enjoy doing this live show so very much. You can usually find the live show right here every Saturday about 10 a.m. Central Standard Time at youtube.com/morninghookah. Well, that's not the case today, but I am very excited to have somebody join me on this recorded episode. So stick around and enjoy the content that you're going to see coming up because I have a really fun guest. So let's get into it. Today, we are joined by someone who I think is an inspiration not only to me, but should be to many as well. He took an idea that he had, and he has a passion for it, and he runs with it every day. He has a very big imagination. He loves the world of 3D printing and the world of hookah. This is somebody that a lot of people already know in the community. He's a great guy. I enjoy hanging out with him very often, and I'm so excited to have him here today because we're going to be talking to him about hookah battle stuff. We're going to be talking to him about 3D printing stuff, hookah stuff, all sorts of stuff, just lots and lots of stuff. So let's bring him onto the show right now. David from Spyre Hookah is joining us right now on Morning Hookah. David, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm loaded a bowl. I'm ready to kind of talk and smoke, and it's been what, 2 years since I think I was last with you.
I think so. I think it's
Not
been not.
we've seen each other since then.
Yes,
But
yes. We have
we keep
literally
it casual.
slept in the same house.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Like, we know one another.
He chose to separate the twin beds. Okay?
Oh yeah, no, separate rooms. But yeah, I've known you for many years. We've hung out many times, and yeah, we had a conversation about 2 years ago on Morning Hookah. You can find the link to the video somewhere in this screen page. Go and check out that video. It's a very informative video, and we're gonna kind of do this like a 2-year check-in in a way. Like, what has changed in those 2 years? What's different in those 2 years? How are things better, worse, all those different kind of components to it? And obviously you've constantly been a staple at the hookah battle as well. You're a former champion, 2-time champion of the hookah battle, and I want to hear your thoughts about this last year's. I don't know if we've ever really talked in depth about it, so I'd love to hear some more things about it because it was a very exciting time. I was hosting it. Obviously you were competing in it. It was a very fun time. But yeah, I just want to get into it, and we're going to talk about this stuff. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and let's start with the hookah battle, I guess.
All right.
Let's talk about Hookah Expo Worldwide, which we just found out is going to be happening again this year. It's going to be October 14th and October 15th of 2022. John believes that he's going to call it just Hookah Expo Worldwide 22, I guess. And, we don't know any more details than really that at this point.
We don't know vendors yet. We don't know the surprise he's added. He wants to apparently show with something other than hookah.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's John, it might be like wine.
That's what my first assumption was too, just knowing John and knowing his interests and stuff. So I think that's a possibility for sure. But last year at the Hookah Expo 4.5, I was the host of Hookah Battle. It was a really fun and exciting time for myself. And you were once again a participant. You had the Hookah Villains team with who was it all? Paul, Wayne, yourself, and Larry.
Yeah.
Larry, yeah. All very good guys. Talk a little bit about your project.
So this year's pipe we put in play was Mjolnir. Well, actually, before we go to that, let's talk about like how I figured out that we were going, because up until like, I don't know, like September 9th to September 10th, we didn't even know we were competing or even if we were going. I got a message from Stanislav, and he was just like, "Hey, I need people." I was like, "Okay." And then like I sat on it for a couple of days, and I was like, "All right, cool." So we threw the team together, and basically we had an idea that I won't bring up. It's still really cool. Don't know if we'll ever be able to do it, but I basically was like, it'd be really cool to do something with the idea, not necessarily like we show up with, something gigantic. I was like, I want to bring something that comes together as a form factor that's more than like a traditional hookah battle entry. So I designed this Mjolnir pipe to be modular so that everything unthreaded, it could be stored away. We got its own bag for it.
What is Mjolnir?
Mjolnir is Thor's hammer. So it was all custom designed so that rather than, hookah battle, which is sometimes bigger is better, right? We showed up with something that was fully built from the ground up, custom. We did a ton of 3D printing on it from 3 different printing technologies. And I did all of the like post processing, effects, painting, all of that myself, which I don't know if I'll ever do it again. It was a
I
lot
didn't know
for
you
three
painted.
weeks.
I had no idea that you're the one that painted that. I think that looks really nice.
Yeah, that was basically like Googling. I'm like, how do I make something look like metal and weathered?
It was
And
very
then
good.
like that entire pipe was me testing whether or not I could do stuff that I haven't done before.
Well, for a first time
So
test on a lot of those things, it came together very well. It was a beautiful looking hammer. It had the logos on it for both Hookah University and Spyre Hookah. And it just came together beautifully. It was a very, very cool entry. There was some other cool stuff at the hookah battle that I thought was very cool as well. But I loved your
mhm.
guys' hammer. I thought it really stood out as being
I,
something very custom, like you're saying. Like it was ground up made from the idea in your head to being made into a material and stuff. And I thought that was really cool.
yeah, and I mean the battle in general, I think this year was probably like miles ahead of where we had seen before, which was really cool. You can't fault, the ingenuity that went in this year. I think everyone was like stuck inside for a year, so everyone was like plotting as best they could to come up with something dope. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm excited to, we already have ideas for future years, but you know, right now we're on that steadfast as to whether or not we'll see if there's another one, right? Um, but yeah, stay tuned. I will tell you if we compete next time. I've already made the vow we won't do 3D printing actually.
Really, that's interesting because you are the 3D printing guy, obviously.
Hmm.
That's how I consider you a little bit. I mean, I know you're a maker. You do a lot of different things. You build, you tinker, you do all those kinds of things, but it's very interesting to hear that you're not interested in doing 3D printing this year. I'm going to take a guess. I'm just going to take a shot in the dark real quick and say that that's going to stay true, and then all of a sudden something's going to go off in your head and you're going to be like, I could probably 3D print that.
Maybe,
That's what's
but
going
it
to
won't
happen. I'm
it
going to
won't
call
be
it.
the it won't be the sole focus. Right? Like
Uh,
that's the big one to it, is that the sole focus in printing is that there is a level of convenience to it.
yeah, yeah,
Um
for sure. But sort of. I mean, it takes a lot of time to do
yeah.
that stuff. It's not like it's like you can like, oh, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to see it, because it takes hours upon hours. Let's talk about 3D printing a little bit. Teach us a little bit, if you don't mind, about the materials of good 3D printing materials, and just kind of the workflow of how you kind of put together 3D printing and stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, like, what was it? 2 years ago, we were talking about FDM printing and another printing style called SLA. So if you guys don't know about that, we did reference that in the previous video. So definitely check that out. But basic synopsis to it: FDM is traditional style 3D printing. You print layer by layer, starting with a melted plastic. It's called additive manufacturing. And all concept of 3D printing is the same. You basically start from nothing and build up, or in some cases, build down if you're looking at different technologies. Material wise, FDM's top three are PETG, PLA, and ABS. I normally recommend sticking in the realm of PETG and PLA. If you're really trying to print from home, print with PLA. It's honestly the most cost effective and most forgiving. Then try PETG. PETG likes to stick to itself. So, like, if you have to print with what's called a support structure, right? Because I don't have any examples nearby. Well, you can't print what's like an overhang, right? So, if you print an archway, you can't print at a certain angle without anything supporting it underneath. And that is basically just how like structural integrity comes through, is you need to basically have something support it on the way up. Now, what's changed in the last 2 years with materials is kind of the big talking point for me, is that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the price points of entry for 3D printing were a lot higher. So when I was starting off, my machines were like $500 to $1,000 in that range. And if I didn't buy one that was in that range, I modified it to fit the needs. Um, so what we see today, though, is SLA printing, which we'll talk about more so in a second, has gotten significantly more cost effective. FDM, you can now get like $150 printer that's sizably competitive to some really nice printers out there. And then what I like to use, and I've been using, which isn't in-house technology yet, but I'd really like it to be, and I'd like to see it reach the consumer level of like affordability, is SLS. And SLS printing, a little bit closer on here, is by far my favorite printing style right now.
Yeah,
Um,
your mouth tips I think are fantastic. I really enjoy the designs and the creativity that you have in them. and they're very cool mount tips. I just think they're very cool. My father-in-law is into 3D printing. He's gotten into 3D printing quite heavily over the last few years and stuff. I've never really gone over there and like explored it with him, but it's been very exciting for him. He loves doing it. He's made a lot of like fidgets and stuff like that for the kids and for sale and stuff. So it's been kind of a fun adventure with him. It's interesting to see 3D printing becoming more financially able to break into and stuff the way that it has been. It's interesting that it's one of those things that's dropping in price a little bit, not dropping in price, but becoming more affordable in price in comparison to so many other things that we see going up through the roof and stuff like that. Just kind of interesting overall. What is the difference in the materials that are being used, or even yourself? What is the difference of materials that you use today, even compared to 2 years ago?
Yeah, so like the three I mentioned are always basically the standard for FDM. The higher temps you can print with an FDM, which is fused deposition modeling, is what it's called. Um, Basically, you can print more industrial grade materials. The higher temps are sustainable. So there's some engineering plastics. One's called PEAK. That's its abbreviation. I do not remember the full name, but that's like 350 degrees Celsius is its and higher is its printing temperature. And then we have SLA, which is a stereolithography, is basically what it's called. There has a couple different names. DLSA is one, and that's basically a resin. Now, I have personally not been using resin still. There's a lot of controversy to their safety. For 3D printing always kind of has this controversy of safety that's tied to it based off of like not necessarily the materials, but the aspects of printing. So like an FDM, the tubing that you use for a Bowden extruder, technically the PTFE that is used for it, it off gases at certain temperatures. Same can be said for um, the brass nozzle that you use. Basically, because it's brass, it can contain lead, and if that brass in any way, shape, or form starts leaking out brass or leaking out lead, then now you have a model that has lead in it. So I always used to try and use stainless nozzles to prevent that. Now, resin printing uses a UV resin. It's a one-part resin that requires UV light to cure it. Now, I have a resin printer. I'll be experimenting with it, and the rule of thumb for resin printing is nothing goes near the mouth, right? So if I use resin printing, either it has to be coated in a two-part resin fully and have no exposed surfaces, or it needs to be a cast model, or it needs to be purely like purge based function, right? So basically nothing that gets in the lung system or preventively as much as possible away from the respiratory system.
So it could be like a sleeve, though. You could print
It
like a
could be.
sleeve in resin that could go onto the tubing of the hookah because there's nothing that's going to pass through it because it's on the outside of the stainless steel that is on the hookah, right?
Yeah, and even then, for a lot of those models, if I go down that route, I would probably not do a vertical purge.
Hmm.
I don't really want to introduce that chance,
Of
right?
it
I
coming
want it to
back
be
through, kind of.
exactly.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
makes
want it.
sense.
I want it to
Nothing
be its own
open.
separate system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Where we go from next is SLS. Now, SLS is primarily printed in what's nylons, right? So nylons are another high grade thermoplastic. You can print in nylon in FDM, right? But SLS is really cool because the entire idea of printing is kind of thrown on its head with how you look at support structures. So what they'll do is, and this is kind of cool, why nylon's really cool, is they take a box, like a bounding box, let's say, if anyone's familiar with the idea of a bounding box, and you have a full volume that you fill up. And then each layer is the support material, and then the singular layer of filament, basically, or powder in this sense, is dotted out like if you would see with like a laser cutter, right? And then they take a high temperature laser to it on the entire surface area and melt that plastic, right? Then they go at it again and they hit it with a laser and again and again and again. And the support structure is built around the print in its entirety. So you can hit crazy angles. You can do one piece designs that you couldn't do before. You can do a ton of different things that are basically like, I wouldn't say necessarily like revolutionary for like standard manufacturing,
Is that the kind of
but I,
stuff that after you're done printing it, you break off like the edges of it, like the supports of it? Is that what that kind of stuff is a little bit that I'm thinking?
It's more of a powder you shake off.
Oh,
But
really?
yes.
Okay, okay.
So whenever I get like a printed piece like that, um, they're normally clean. So this one's like stained and dyed afterwards, which I'm also playing with, but that's a different story. Um, but yeah, you basically shake off the powder. I always not hot bath, but soap water and warm water, and just basically scrub everything that I can. Um, just clean it up. You never know. But yeah, the nylons are really cool because of that plain aspect, right? I really want to use SLS printing more so for two reasons. One, it's less time consuming for me myself because I can't really run Spyre full time by myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I had that opportunity pre-COVID, and then COVID hit, so is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it also has like a fundamental, like, I don't have to worry about messing up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's still all of my designs, everything is still tested, but now I can boost the quality of everything I'm making with SLS printing, which is arguably nearly as cost effective as the resin printing, if not FDM printing personally.
How has it been like seeing the change in cost? Like comparatively to when you first started doing 3D printing and stuff, and you were first doing your designs and you were first doing your sales and stuff for the different things that you sell. We should probably also say if you are interested in any of the different kinds of stuff that David has for sale, you can find him most easily, I would assume, on Instagram, probably.
Instagram right now, the
Okay.
website I decided to take down. It doesn't make sense.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah,
Instagram.com slash Spyre_Hookah or just
just
Spyre?
Spyre Hookah.
Just Spyre
Spyre
Hookah?
with a Y.
Spyre with a Y. It'll be in the description down below, obviously. And I've also tagged him in things on my Instagram as well. So if you're interested, you can find like my mouthpieces, pictures and stuff, and that's always Spyre that I shout out because quality, and that's what I care about, and his stuff is quality. So, but yeah, like I was saying, is what are some of those differences in like what's it been like to see the cost and those kind of things change over the years from when you first started into getting into the stuff that you're making now, and how has that affected? And you kind of touched on this a little bit, obviously, already, but how has that kind of affected the kind of things that you make now compared to 2 years ago?
Um, I would say so. The mouth tip that you have, right, that you picked up at this expo 2 years ago, when I did like the original version that was shown up for just CUNY, right? That was like me testing limitations of the printer that I had, right? It was really steep angles, really hard drive. And if I would have gone it through a printing service, right? Because there's a ton of different printing services you can use, it's definitely worthwhile to vet them accordingly before you like rely on one vendor. Is that for me to get one printed in FDM back then would have probably been like $10 a piece. Um, and reliability just wasn't there, right? And that's still some concerns with printing services and printing farms. Um, but SLS 2 years ago, there was no way ever. It was like $45-50 for a mouth tip because the technology, not necessarily that it was new, but the price of entry for a company to use it was purely for industrial manufacturing, aerospace prototyping, and things like that. Now the services that you can get out there are basically just like, we have extra space, put it in. It's like anodizing, right? Like you can go and get anything anodized, assuming it's the right material, but like it's a little bit more available, which is very much appreciated because it lets me move outside of having to worry about support structures, having to worry about tolerances. That was always a big one that you know I would do 5 or 6 test prints just to make sure my tolerances were okay.
Man, that's interesting about the cost. Once again, like I find that stuff to be interesting because I feel like the way that there's two kinds of mind frames for hookah smokers and enthusiasts or hookah people that are kind of in that intermediate level, right? When you're at the lower level, when you're first getting into hookah and stuff, you don't understand the value of certain kinds of things. And as you upgrade and you get into like higher quality pipes and higher quality hoses and higher quality accessories and stuff, that price and that value kind of changes the way that you think about it, obviously. So to see your hose, the tips, obviously, drop in price a little bit for a basic model, I think is a really good way to introduce people into 3D printing because you're very imaginative with your tips as is. Like you showcase what they can look like at a very early onset, and then you can customize to do just about anything. Obviously, the cost will go off depending on the ability to make it and all that kind of stuff. What is possible in 3D printing? Like, is it really anything that you can imagine? Is that really the case?
Yes. I'm gonna say yes, but there's like a hard asterisk there. 90% of 3D printing knowledge is actually going to be CAD, right? You need to know computer automated drafting to some degree, or know someone who knows it. And it doesn't hurt for someone to know like the tolerances that go into printing, or have some kind of knowledge background that, predicates towards it. Um, for printing in general, I would say that a lot of success depends on how much you're willing to put into it. So for like the newer stuff, like if you let's say we're just looking at, new people who are in the maker space, which they're always welcome, right? And you want to start printing your own things, most people will print, it's called a benchy, right? Or like the alignment cube, and everyone wants the most perfect alignment, which there are people who are like micrometers or whatever sizing you want to put it, smaller than nanometers, right? That's how much they've gotten their alignment in place, right? Which is insane when you're talking about a hundredths of a millimeter. Um, but so I mean, like anything's possible. I would say definitely avoid certain materials if you're trying to go for certain things. As I said, like PLA is super easy to work with. The first time I printed with PLA after never printing with it and only doing PETG, I was like, this is cheating. This isn't fair. I was not happy because I ended up printing, what was it, an entire drone body for one of my friend's brothers, and I was like, "Oh, this will never print. I have to pay the support here, yada yada yada." And then like I printed it in areas that definitely needed support did not need support. So
Is part of
PLA
that
is your friend.
because it's so lightweight? Is that part of the reason? Or
PLA is just it's a less finicky material.
huh,
It's a
interesting.
corn. I believe if I remember correctly, it's a cornstarch base, so it's technically biodegradable, but it should be fine. I don't recommend it for like super like high vapor usage,
Mm-hmm.
right, where there's like a lot of moisture, because then it will start to degrade. But even then, you have a few years. It's basically just clean it. Um, Warm water and soap. That's the biggest recommendation for anything that's printed.
Okay, okay.
Um, and then proper drying. That's another big one.
So the way I'm
So
I'm taking this is anything in your imagination is possible as long as you understand the dimensions and the way to make the geometry work within actual
mhm.
reality, right? Like you can make any sort of like shape and stuff, but you have to think about it in actual geometry. It can't just be pure imagination. There has
Mhm.
to be reality to it and stuff.
So like a good example for that would probably be the billow, right? So the billow is a two-piece heart hookah that has an internalized hidden purge that points downward. To do that with like CNC, you need an extra component that's either welded in place, or you need to design it as its own separate piece that threads down inside like a more complicated build. For 3D printing, what would be like three or four
Right.
pieces.
I
The
mean,
new hearts that I have been working on, they have an inset that you just cannot do with CNC, and it's amazing, right? Like it's your get out of jail free card. Um, I would say like it's always going to be a space of creativity and testing limits. And what's really cool is like I don't feel like I test those limits nearly as much as I should, but we'll get there. We haven't even talked about like ceramic 3D printing, right?
that's something that just
That's big.
yeah, that's that. I mean, obviously, like we had this conversation a while back ago. I said, people 3D print homes now, right? Like if you can 3D print a home, you can definitely 3D print a bowl, which we are seeing
Yep.
a little bit happen with a company called Concept, I believe is the name of them.
Mhm.
Very interesting things, but that leads me into the next part of this, which is what is happening with the 3D printed hookahs and other stuff. What other hookah-based accessories are you working on in the 3D printed realm at the moment?
So I have fully printed pipes. I got some feedback on my initial tester. That we're gonna. I'm gonna personally try something new. I'm gonna do a modular design through and through, even with modular downstems that'll thread, which we'll test and see how that goes. I'm basically gonna test the limits of the nylon a little bit more because I feel like I have that breathing room. So the equip tips will probably be coming back. So if people don't know, those are basically different style designs that you can customize, and you can put them either on your handle as totems, some people like to call them, or you can put them as a mouth tip, and you can basically swap out your mouth tip. Um, it was kind of the idea of it was, well, what if like you're smoking at home and you don't want to use a mouth tip, right? Or what if you want to like really customize your handle, but you have like one piece that's your favorite, you can take it with you. So that'll be coming back in some facet. Um, I was asked to design a 3D printed mole catcher, and I will be honest with you, I don't know how much faith I have in it right now, but we'll see how it goes. As well as, I have had bowl designs, I have had handle designs, tons of other things that are always like in the background that have been projects, but not necessarily anything right now. I think the coolest thing about the printed pipes right now, and I know you were part of the beta for the Wisp when it was manufactured, but there were a lot of limitations then for CNCing and what I could have made. Right, I'm smoking out of mine. I really don't want to pick it up, but basically, the shape and factor of what was milled was very limited. With the SLS, I can design any shape, right? So now we have crazy looking sleeves, vertical purges, hidden purges, purges through the center that is all one piece that threads into the heart. And that's like just the basics of starting where we can go from it.
Some of the other things that I think are really interesting that I didn't think about until other people told me about it is I was talking to Paul, a friend of ours, about diffusers. And I have a couple of pipes that I don't have a diffuser for, but I would really like to get one. And the first thing
Mhm.
Paul said to me was, "We'll talk to David. All you got
Mhm.
to do is tell him what the size is, and he can make you a 3D printed diffuser." And he loves his.
Yeah.
And I think that's
So
super interesting.
I want to start doing diffusers again. The big one with that is that, again, materials matter, but I have a design for one that fits a regal downstem. Regal downstem is 5/8. I've actually been getting more questions for that recently, and I've kind of just not responded
I
because
feel so
it's
bad because the Regal, I love my Regal. I absolutely love it. There's nothing about my Regal that I do not love at all, like in any shape or way. But I'm so used to having diffusers on my hookahs that it's so weird not to smoke it with a diffuser. And right now, I just have this really crummy silicone diffuser that I use it on it every once in a while. And it just feels like that's not right. That's not what I should be putting on this pipe of this majesty for this hookah. Like I need something a lot nicer and something that functions a lot better too, because this thing like slips off half the time. It's just it's no good. But that's something that is also so interesting about 3D printing is it can solve these kind of minute problems of issues that you kind of don't have a solve for in other ways. Like I've gotten things 3D printed for myself back in the day with like SIM card holders and stuff like that for
Mhm.
like cell phones and things like that, right? Like you try to go out and buy those things and it's like it's frustrating. It's hard to find sometimes, or you got to wait for it to be shipped to you. I had a friend that had a 3D printer and I was like, "Hey, I just need like a SIM card holder that makes my micro into a mini." And he's like, I could do that in a half hour." And it's like, "Great."
Yep.
Like those are the kind of cool things that I think that 3D printing can solve, and I think there are enough things inside of Hookah that can definitely be a placement for. I like the idea of you doing a mola catcher. If you don't know what a mola catcher is, that stands for molasses catcher. So when you're smoking hookah and the molasses of the tobacco starts to drip down, you can even have drip even if you're smoking in something like a funnel bowl and stuff, then it's nice to have something that catches it before it goes down into the tubing of your hookah, so it's less cleanup later on, obviously. It's a little bit cleaner. 3D printing mola catcher sounds interesting because when I think of the 3D printed material, it doesn't seem to be something of that sort. But I've seen mola catchers be made out of glass. I've seen it made out of stainless steel. I've seen it made out of even out of the bowl itself, right? Like mason bowls on the onyx bowls, they have a little lip in it, and that's supposed to quote unquote act like a mola catcher. I'm not going to argue if that's a good idea, bad idea, or if it does or doesn't work. But what I'm saying is the materials that you use in it are definitely varied. There's definitely a
Mhm.
lot of options out there that you could do something like that with. Have you started the testing phase of the mola catcher?
No, Larry's gonna be my bait. So Larry's gonna test that for me as soon as I finish it. I basically told him like expect like catastrophic failure. Um, but we don't know until we try. I've tried before. I have. I have from probably 3 years ago. I tested a hidden mola catcher in one of our prototypes, and it was actually a two-piece heart. Like a ton of things that we do now that we were like, oh, super jank steps before. And it worked. It survived, but I had airflow issues, so it's like now we have to go back and like rebuild. right?
Well, all mullet
Um,
catchers have a little bit of airflow issues. I mean, I've never used a mullet catcher that I didn't know that a mullet catcher was on it. If that makes sense.
so while designing this one, I came up with another design for one that would, I don't think could be printed, um, but basically completely changes a mullet catcher's design. And I do not think it would interrupt airflow whatsoever.
Hmm.
So if I design it and I find someone who's interested in making it, let's do it. Um,
Is
but I
that a
mean, like
CNC type thing? Is that what you're talking about, or
I don't
something?
know CNC, and I don't think CNC. I think it's going to be I can get away with tubing and welding,
Interesting.
and laser cutting, which is also something that we've been like experimenting with. Is laser cutting also falls into the same premise that it used, like that old printing used to do. If those who don't know, and you want to do like custom trays and stuff like that, that's a brand new market that's getting cheaper as well. It's really cool because like I can now make my own tongs, I can make my own trays. There's a ton of things like that that I couldn't do before that I've also kind of jumped on board with in the last year.
That's
That's
something I've always found so interesting about you is in a world where people take pictures of hookahs and they show it off to other people, and the first thing that most people say is like, "Oh, I want that hookah, right? Or I want that tray, or I want those tongs." Your first response to a lot of those things is, "I wonder if I could make that.
yeah,
I wonder if I
always.
could create that. I wonder if I could do something but different and make it myself." Like I've always
Yeah.
found that so interesting. Me and you talk about tobacco, and you've experimented with creating your own flavors and stuff like that, obviously. And I'm always like, "Hey, have you tried this stuff?" And you're like, "Honestly, I smoke like my own stuff like 90% of the time." And I've always found that so interesting about you. You're very true to you, which I think is so powerful in your maker space, right? I think that something that I think gets defeated in some of these regards when it comes to creating these kinds of things is it's a lot of work, and you have so much respect for the work that you're putting into it. You use the stuff you create.
Yeah.
You you
I mean,
you
there's
practice
no
what you
better
preach.
test subject than yourself,
Yeah,
right? Like, I hate to say it that way, but
it's
that's
true.
kind of the truth. The tobacco is another topic for another day, maybe.
Yeah, I would love to
Um,
talk more about that, especially because anytime I've ever tried to make tobacco, it's always been terrible. I've never had even a smokable batch of my own creation and stuff. I've always done a terrible job. So I would love
I
to.
mean, I'm smoking mine now,
Which
and I
I'm
have
not
been.
surprised. I can't believe it's taken us almost 30 minutes into this to actually say this. But what are you smoking at the moment, David? What are you enjoying right now?
So I told you at the thing before we were recording, I'm like, it's nearly a throwback to what I was smoking last time I was on.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even encounter that. I was just like, this bowl sounds really good. So I was told to make a key lime cheesecake flavor. Now, cheesecakes are a pain in the ass. So you have to like mute the hell out of them because they're super dank non-American cheesecakes. So like so it's key lime cheesecake, vanilla cake batter, ginger, and then just chilling. And just chilling is like my supernova counterpart, right? So it's super cold, hits the palate, it cools down a bowl without being a mint. Um, and it's good. I like it.
I love the idea of ginger in hookah tobacco. I've never had anything remotely ginger tasting that I can think of. Like maybe I tried something a long time ago and I just can't like recall it. But like I really want to try a ginger flavor. I would love to try that.
I made ginger after trying Bonch's ginger,
Oh,
and
Bonch.
I was like, oh, this is really
See,
good.
once again, you try something and you're like, I wonder if I could do this. Like that's always
That's
your first response to stuff.
but that's why I've been like pursuing cheesecake for nearly a year, right? Is that I'm like all these other companies are making a really good cheesecake, and then like I talk with some people who make tobacco in like the industry, and they're like, cheesecake's a nightmare flavor. And then like I started coming to the idea that like maybe they're just not using cheesecake flavoring at all, right? Like I can nearly promise you that's how I feel at this point, because like the cheesecake in this bowl and you can still taste it is like 10%, right?
Maybe it's just the idea of cheesecake, right? When you name something cheesecake, then people just automatically are like, "Oh, I taste it." It's a
Exactly.
placebo effect, basically.
I think the closest like cheesecake flavor that can like have you had Heavenly's chocolate cheese or chocolate chip cheesecake?
I have not. No.
Okay, so it has a like the dank curdy flavor,
I love how
right?
you refer to it as dank. I like that.
I have to. There you'll smoke it, you'll find out. That's
Okay.
the best
Okay.
way for me to describe it.
Okay.
Um and it's like you have to mute that note for the American market
I
because
like
Would never.
I like strawberry or lemon cheesecake from WTO. I like that cheesecake quite a bit. And I also like Gonzo cake, which is a raspberry cheesecake from Darkside. Those are the two cheesecakes. I actually thank Gonzo cake, Darkside, for making me a cheesecake enjoyer now.
Mhm.
Like, I didn't actually used to enjoy eating cheesecake. And then I started smoking Gonzo cake, and I was like, "This is pretty good." And someone's like, "You know that's cheesecake, right?" I'm like, "Oh, it is. It's very
That's the
sweet. That's very
hard
sweet."
that's the hard hit flavor to hit. So that's kind of what I've been striving for as a cheesecake, right? It's like, is it dark side cheesecake? Does it match what I want? Right? And I know that sounds like, really competitive, which is probably the truth because it's me. Um but it's definitely its own animal, and I've been making tobacco for 2 years and I'm still learning. Like every batch, like I used to come up with the idea, well, I'm making one note flavors, right? Because the idea for me is like what makes hookah relaxing is the mix. Like sitting back, I want this in this bowl, I want to throw it together, do my own little bartending with hookah stuff,
Bartending,
right?
yes.
But I don't like buying pre-mixed flavors. So like that's kind of where that ideology came from.
Because when you can make that perfect mix upon smoking and stuff, like that's just like that's the perfect way to end a night is just relaxing with a mix that you made yourself.
Yeah, it's I think I told you, like when I do stream, right? Like I start every session with packing a bowl, right? Like 30 minutes talking to people, packing a bowl, relaxing, and then like I've had close friends who are like, "You were stressed and then you packed a bowl." And I was just like, "Yeah, like it's my moment of like no one else can get in the way. There's, nothing else there. It's me time. Um, but it's the cool thing. What are you smoking? Because you and I have been talking. I need to send you some stuff,
Yeah, I've
and you
had
haven't given me any ideas yet.
I've had a couple. Well, ginger. I'm telling you right now, I want to try some ginger.
Okay.
I'm smoking Azor Blonde, peaches and cream. Very, very good flavor. I've been enjoying this
Haven't
for a
had it
long
yet.
time. I really, really like it. The peach flavor is very good. Azor does a very good job with their peach flavoring. And then the cream in this, it has a texture to it. And that's what I really like about this cream flavor.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a creaminess, there's a texture to the actual cream, and I think that is so unique and different, and I just really, really enjoy it. It's very, very good. And then I threw in a little bit of Reaper from Chaos.
Mhm.
It's Reaper from Chaos is their menthol taste or whatever, their cooling one. There's their strong mint, and it's pretty good. I know some people are not a fan of Chaos, and I understand why and stuff. I'm not here to debate what everybody and anybody should be or shouldn't be smoking. I just enjoy the stuff that I enjoy mixing and putting in my bowls, and that's all I'm worried about.
Yeah. I will tell you that's a peach flavor has been on my list for a while. I realized I went through all of the flavors I have, and I was like 60 different flavors. I'm like, how haven't I touched peach yet?
Peach
Like,
is a really
there's
important
so many
hookah
good peach
flavor. In
flavors.
my opinion,
So
peach is
many.
very important in the world of hookah. There are
Yeah.
very specific flavorings that when I get into a brand, I always go for. And one of those flavors is peach. When Eternal Smoke first came out, when we first got our hands on Eternal Smoke, the first flavor I wanted to try was their peach flavor. Because peach is just one of those flavors that it's not hard to make a good peach flavor, in my opinion. Like most peach flavors are fine, honestly. But to make a very good peach flavor, it has me excited for the rest of that brand, in my
Mhm.
opinion. And I think that
It's a good standard.
it really is. I
It's like
think,
it's like
yeah,
a it's like a good mint, right? Or like
yes,
what was it a good? I mean, it used to be. Let's say like back when we were, when it was Alfak or Fumari and like lesser dark leaf brands, right? Like a good vanilla, a good lemon,
lemon's
right?
another one.
Or
Citrus
we're
flavors are
like
important. Oranges are
important
important.
standards. Yeah.
I think so. I think that's very true. And peach is very good, and Azor does very good peaches. They have a lot of them. What is it called? Life's a peach. Life's a peach. That's a good one. And then there's another one that I can't think of the name of off the top of my head, but they do very good peach work. And this peaches and cream, I don't think it's quite out yet. This specific flavor, but when it does come out, I highly recommend everybody go out and get it. I like dark leaf tobacco. That's my kind of go-to type of tobacco and stuff. But this blonde leaf, there are certain flavors that I think excel very well in a blonde leaf capacity and stuff. The brightness and the lightness to the tobacco and stuff, and I think peach does good with that. And then also Azor has a pomegranate flavor that I adore in blonde leaf. I think it's very, very good, and I highly recommend because it actually has the tartness of a
Yeah.
pomegranate, and it's very
Well, then
good.
that's like the important step of like a grenadine or pomegranate base for a lot of fruits is
Hmm.
that you get a ton of fruit flavoring, and it's normally just like, okay, you found a candy, right? But what if you don't want to smoke candy?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah, I like sweet, but and as I've said before, I think that a sweet flavor is not bad, but the problem is when it becomes syrupy. When you can taste the syrupiness to a flavor, that's when it's not enjoyable to me. Like when it tastes too chemically and stuff. And I think that that's the borderline that I think a lot of I'm not going to say any brand names, but there are certain brands that they're just very syrupy. They're so hyper sweet and they're hypersensitive in their flavor profiles that it tastes like you're smoking a syrup of this flavor, and that's not enjoyable for me. That's kind of where I stand with that.
So one of the conversations I used to have, and I don't know if we've had this talk, but I've had it with a lot of different people, is two flavors, pineapple and mango. They're super hard to work with.
Yeah.
I will not smoke pineapple because it's so inconsistent.
I don't like pineapple flavors. I really don't. Yeah, I agree.
And then mango is like hits that sweet, but you can also get like a mango that just burns super easily. I want to try that flavor now. I need to hit up some individuals for it. Apparently.
Are you ready for the game?
Yeah.
We're gonna play.
I think I'm good.
We're gonna play a small game. All right, David. I know for a fact that you are familiar with a game called Wordle.
I am.
And because you are familiar with this game called Wordle, we're going to do something. We're going to play Wordle, Hookah Wordle, right here. I have a list of, somewhere around 20 words. Okay, so it's not just a few. There's a lot of them. There's many words. We're going to play Hookah Wordle, and these are 4-letter words because I could create the most possible that way. So you're going to tell me the word to try. I'm going to type it in, and you're going to learn information from that. You have the 6 chances like you normally would. Wordle, if you don't know, is played by guessing a word and then getting information based off that guess and then trying to discover what the word is.
Okay. I think 4. We've had this talk. 4 is the perfect number because now I have to think more.
There's a lot of words. There's a lot of
There are a lot of words. Let's go with hose.
Hose is the first sketch. Let me click on that. HOSE. Hose.
That's like a left field. There's an O in there?
There's an O.
There's an O.
There's an O.
Poke. No,
Poke.
can't be poke. No.
Okay.
No. Because there's no E.
Good job.
Question. Are we thinking like smoking as a whole? Right? Or are we thinking like the word toke is another example? Right? Like
I can tell you that I did not use the word toke.
Okay. That's why I need to. Ooh. Okay. This is annoying already. Bowl. I don't like you. So it's blow, right?
Good
but
job.
I still just don't like you. I still just don't like you.
Good job. You got that in 3.
Why is blow the acceptable one here?
What are you
Matt?
talking about? Blow. You literally
you
blow.
literally called me like the most perverted person yesterday.
Don't you see? But you just took it there again. That's the problem. That's the issue right there. All right, let me generate another one. We'll do 3 of these, I think.
Okay. Stem. Pipe. The funny thing is, because you know it, you're just gonna give me that side eye look.
I'm pretty proud of this one. I like this word.
You like this word?
I like this word, but that doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't help.
It shouldn't help, no.
Yeah.
Like it is Hookah Wordle, so it is definitely hookah related.
The E is getting me right now. Not gonna lie.
This is how I know that like I'm really no good at Wordle, because usually when I play Wordle, I literally just guess words, even if I know that there's like no chance that it's in there. Like I just guess words. I'm terrible at it. That's why I use
like
cheats.
the question is, do I like look for other letters and build off of it? Do I go for that standard of 3? I think I need to try and not use letters I've used before at this point is the hard part to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. I'm thinking like through my list mentally. This is the funny part, right? Is that like we always use ESP in bowls and like in hookah, right? It's like those are some of the most common letters, and now they're not there. Are brands on your list?
Yes. Yeah, sort of. I mean, yes. Hookah related.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, is Haze on your list, right? Yeah, let's do Haze.
Just to get some letters.
Yeah. Another vowel. What did you do?
It's a good word.
It is a good word.
It's the difficulty of this being is actually making me happy knowing that I did a
Yeah.
good job with this one.
This is definitely different than I anticipated.
I have big brain too.
I never doubted you. Watch, this is a word I have never used in hookah.
You've definitely used
watch.
this. I guarantee you have.
I have.
I
Okay.
promise you have.
Okay, let's try like we're gonna do a non-hookah word.
Okay.
Let's go with gear.
Oops.
That is that. Okay, so that at least solves that side of it. This is how I play Wordle, right? I'm like, this is just annoying. Like, why do I play this game? This is bullshit.
And then when you get it, you're like, oh yeah, cool. I like it.
You're like, I'm a genius. We're gonna like.
You ever got it in one try?
No, I know your story. Be quiet, you.
Oh yeah.
What happened today, Matt?
One try McGee.
I don't know a word. I'm being genuinely honest with you. Leak? No. Yes, leak. Leak. Leaf? Really? I fucking hate you. I hate you. I hate you. With
You
passion.
still got
I hate
it.
you.
You still
I
got
know,
it.
but I still hate you.
You still got it. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for still getting that. I'm proud of you.
Consonants are annoying.
I was a little worried there for a minute. Okay, now I need to get another word. Let's see. Which
I didn't think leaf as hookah, right?
How
like,
is that
it's just
tobacco leaf?
Yeah, but you're like giving me like half of the sentence.
Tobacco leaf.
Okay. Fair enough.
You can't even.
No, I can't. I'm just doubting my intelligence now.
You ready?
Yep.
All right, here's the third one. So far you've gotten 3 tries and you got 6 tries. I mean, come on. You did get the word. That's the important part of the game.
Yeah, let's go. Bring it. Bring it in one. No, I'm kidding. Probably not.
Sure thing. You do it. You tell me the word. What would be a great word to end on? I didn't put that much thought in it, so don't think of that way. What is it?
Tray.
I mean, it would have been really cool if that was right.
Right? I mean, then we'll just go for stem. Right?
Do you also consider par to be 4, or do you consider par to be 3?
Par is 4.
Yeah, I consider par 4. 1 under 3, which is the goal. 2 is lucky, and then 3, and then 1 is mat. That's what you get. You got a hole in mat.
Hole in mat. Okay. Now you're making me like doubt my entire hookah vocabulary. I think is the hard part about this.
If you did not fully consider the word leaf as being hookah related for whatever reason, there's no way that this word would not be 100% hookah related.
Yeah, but then I'm like, what if it's half word shit again?
Leaf is not half word; it's a full word. Leaf.
Is it just mat? Right, it's just mat. Like, let's just clear some letters.
You want to do the mat?
No, I don't.
My
I'm
wife
sure.
is
Actually,
my wife gets super angry with me when I do 2 letters.
Do it. Okay, so that's right. At that point, got to throw your name in there, right? And now I just don't know.
Yes, you do. Stare intently. Stare until your head hurts.
My head always hurts.
This word. There is somebody in the comments right now yelling at you.
Probably.
Right. This word there is. The last word I don't think there was. This word I think there might be at least one person yelling at you in the comments.
Probably, and I just can't think. This is why I go for the 4 par. Right? Do I ever get 4 par? Probably not. Paul's probably the one yelling at me right now. Let's be honest. It's just Paul, just rage yelling at me. Shit.
Yeah, shit. Is that your word?
No. Actually, fuck it. Yeah, do it. Bring it on. It's gonna be wrong, so it's fine. Yeah. Oh.
You learned something.
I did learn something. No, because I can't think of this. This is crazy.
You should get a piece of paper.
No. All up here.
Well, do you want that hint yet?
It's just mint. That's not hookah.
What are you talking about?
You can't say that. No.
Oh my god.
No,
No,
'cause that's
no,
no.
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 Cane mint. Mint is,
Again, that's a half word.
it's not a half word. Mint is a very important word in the world of
It
hookah.
is, but you said I'm not thinking like if you would have been like hookah and flavors, probably. You said hookah.
Flavors are hookah. What are you smoking? A flavor out of your hookah.
You can
Tobacco
smoke-
leaf. You're
you
smoking
can
a
smoke-
tobacco leaf flavor.
You can smoke without flavoring. You can smoke base.
Yeah, sure. That's why leaf was there too.
You used half words.
You're
I'm
just
ready for
angry that you got a 5.
I am angry that I got a 5. I'm also angry in your word choice. I'm gonna help you develop. We're gonna add more words. You're gonna send me the list, and we're gonna torture the next person.
Torture. I think that was enough torture for you. It turns out.
It's okay, Matt. It's fine.
All right. David, thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Morning Hookah Show. I wish we could have been live and enjoying the immersive amount of people in the chat that would have been yelling at you and telling you what the words were, so you could have got it in 4 tries.
We need to. Can we get the comment section to start listing more 4-letter words?
Oh yeah, if you have any words, if you can think of any 4, 5, or 6 letter words that are hookah related, hear that? Hookah related.
Hookah flavoring tobacco
No, you
related.
can literally say hookah related, and all those fit in that category. Mint is hookah related. How can you not? Leaf is hookah related. Anyway,
You think abstract. I appreciate it, but I also just don't like you right now.
please list those down below so I can add them to my Wordle list, because this is a game that we're definitely going to play more here on Morning Hookah. I think it's a very fun game. It's very quick, easy to play, and it always pisses off the guests that we have. So it's fun for me. It's fun for me. You won though. You got all the words.
It's
you got
fine.
all the words.
It's
That's all that
fine.
matters.
It's just annoying.
That's going to do
But-
it for here at Morning Hookah. David, once again, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find you if they're looking for you?
You can find me at Spyre Hookah on Instagram. I also have a Facebook page. If I don't respond immediately, I apologize. I have a lot always on my plate, so
Also, you're on Twitch.
I am.
We
But
should talk about that. You should.
I stream Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays on Twitch. Fridays are always community days. We always start with a packing a bowl. The Twitch handle is I'm Tainted. IMTAINTED.
it's
I'm like
important.
doubting it. Yeah,
It's
after
important.
Wordle, I'm doubting it. Right.
How do you spell?
Exactly. You can check me out there. We're approaching 300 followers on there. We're gonna do a follower giveaway. I'm gonna do a hookah related giveaway for hookah people, and then do a hookah or non-hookah related giveaway for like my gamer friends. Probably just like gift cards and stuff, because honestly, we'll see.
Yeah. Easiest.
But yeah, thank you for having me, Matt.
Oh, it was a blast.
I had fun, until like the last 6 minutes. I had fun. But I'll see you all next time in 2 years.
Sounds good. We'll have you on in 2 years to do another checkup on how things are going. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it. As always, make sure you're subbed and subscribed. Make sure you hit that bell icon so you know the moment that we go live. Like the video, and also see you when the smoke clears. Bye.